I myself represent Indiana County, but previously I spent 14 years working for the Department of Transportation in District 10 and District 11 as a community relations coordinator, press secretary. So George and I spent many a day out on construction projects in hard hats and things like that. So I truly appreciate, the task before you and the importance of what PennDOT does. So I have a number of questions, and I'm hoping that we can get to all of them. But my immediate concern, coming from the Western Pennsylvania region, we have a lot of landslides. A good part of that is due to our geology and the number of streams and rivers that flow south. And so I'm a little concerned, and if I'm reading this right, within the budget request, at least for the federal reimbursement, it looks like you're asking for half of what you did the previous year. So my question is, we're going to have landslides. We're going to have disasters related to flooding and things like that. How are you accounting for that in this upcoming budget?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a major challenge for us. I was talking to the district executive, District 11, to get a feel for how many landslides we had since 2018, and we had over 120, between 120 to 130 landslides. Some of these local roads are still closed, and they're actually looking into whether there is any merit to open it or make a cul-de-sac out of those roads. Where are you going to spend the money? Do you fix the landslides? Do you fix the bridge that's closed? There is a lot of challenges out there with the severe storms and the weather conditions and rains that we're seeing. The budget for emergency repair is $20 million. But I have to tell you, previous years, when the year that we spent 125, we actually took money from construction and we put it into emergency repair. And some of the money is coming back to us, through the FEMA process, but not a whole lot. And they don't make it easy for us to collect the money from FEMA, right? There's a lot of strings attached to it. There's a lot of requirements when you apply for the funding to come back to the state. They may not see it as an emergency situation. It's emergency to us because we're causing inconvenience, roadblocks, that's emergency. But I don't know how they categorize emergency at FEMA. It's a major problem. But I tell you, moving forward, we're actually trying to be smarter and better about the new projects that we are designing to make sure that if we're spending the money, we're creating a more resilient infrastructure, right? We get complaints from the contractors that, you're creating these massive structures for a minor creek crossing. Why do we have to put so much boulders, or we call it rock slope protection, in front of the abutments? Part of it is because we wanted to protect the structures, the bridges, when in a case where we are seeing some of these flooding situations. Roads are being raised, the profiles are being raised. We are mindful of the buildings around the roads and the drivers and so forth. It's becoming very complicated, but we're trying to get better. We're updating our guidelines. We have some tools to be more proactive. Bridge Watch it's a tool that you actually install and you measure when the flooding is going to be happening, and what's the level of water is going to be, so we're better prepared, in the storm conditions. We close it down. We, provide safety for the public. There's all kinds of stuff that we're looking into to be more proactive.
I think it's important that we account for that in the budget so that, next year's budgets, particularly within the PennDOT districts, aren't skewed because it's obviously important. We need to continue to repair roads and bridges. I want to applaud my colleagues who served on the Transportation Task Force this past summer. I think that's a lot of common sense legislation that will help us fund projects in the future. But my question is, we're shifting money from rural roads to interstates. We don't have an interstate in Indiana County, but we have a lot of rural roads. Have you given any thought to adjusting or changing the liquid fuels formula to at least help some of our municipalities with their road infrastructure?
I think this is a decision that this body will make, right, to change the formulas. So we're carrying on with the same formula.
Would you support that?
We'll be glad to look into it, absolutely.
Lastly, and very quickly, one of my pet peeves, and I was with PennDOT, and I think this is for a lot of people who wait for transportation projects, is the amount of time that it takes for the environmental clearance process through the National Environmental Policy Act. The President has proposed streamlining that, And I really believe that could save millions and millions of dollars in the clearance process that could be used to pave more roads, fix more bridges. What are your thoughts on those proposed changes to the NEPA clearance process?
So I'm all with you. I don't want the projects. Every year we actually extend the life of the project. It takes longer to build a project. The cost of the project is going to go up, right? We wanted to make sure that we get it designed and cleared as expeditiously as possible, right? But I also have to mention something to you that, we have to comply with the regulatory agencies. So when they put a whole bunch of regulations in front of us, coming from DEP, Army Corps, you name it, all agencies that we have to work with to get the environmental clearance, we have to comply, otherwise we won't have the permits to take our project into construction, right? So if they ease up the permits or they work with us and we put some kind of an agreement to expedite the review process, I'm not saying they should cut corners. We can still provide, do the due diligence to protect the environment. But the challenge, as you mentioned, is it takes a long time for the review. And part of it is because they don't have enough resources. As you know, the governor's budget is offering the DEP with some additional human resources. They're going to hire more staff to be able to respond to some of the permits. Additionally, FHWA and PennDOT is funding some positions with multiple agencies to be able to actually have them review our applications much faster. So there is a lot of collaboration going on between us and DEP to make sure within the state we can do everything possible to expedite the process.